Hey folks, it's Stephan here. Welcome to the first episode of the Pathfinder Adventure Card Game Wrath of the Righteous series. The adventure we'll be playing is the base adventure that comes in the box called Into the World Wound. On the fringes of the wastelands, life goes on. People live in fear of the horrors of the night, but they still proceed with their daily routines, hoping to see the next day. The hopeful place their faith in the Crusaders of Iamade, heroes who patrol the world wound in search of any horrific thing that might prey upon the innocent. But on the road to the world wound, you won't find a lot of people who trust that things will go well. Maybe you can change that. The first scenario is the Godless Ones. The world wound's demons would not be so confident about their chances of success without allies hidden among the people they prey upon. The demonologist Safini and several of her Blackfire adept minions want to bend demons to their will, to show them whose will is strongest. For locations, we have the Forsaken Cloister. When you move or are moved here, bury a card. Any character at another location may discard a card to evade an encounter and then move here. Manor House. When you encounter a boon of the type other than loot here, draw a random boon of that type from the box and counter one and banish the other. The Marketplace. When you attempt to acquire a boon, add 1 plus the scenario's adventure deck number to checks to acquire it. The Armory. When you acquire a weapon, you may draw a card. And the Watchtower. You may summon and defeat a random monster instead of the normal check to acquire a boon. So we've got Enora here. She will start at the Manor House. Imrijka is going to start here at the Watchtower. And Shardra is going to go with Imrijka. First card in the Blessings deck is Blessing of Iamade. 2 dice to any non-combat charisma check. She will explore. And it is the Henchman. Cultists of Baphomet. Combat 10. The difficulty of checks to defeat the Cultists of Baphomet is increased by the scenario's adventure deck number, which is B, so there isn't one. Before you act, if this is your first exploration of the turn, Cultists of Baphomet deals 1 combat damage to you. Well, this is my first exploration. It's apparently an unlucky one. We'll take that damage on Brilliance, and then it's a combat 10. So, for your combat check, discard this card to use your Arcane or Divine skill plus 2d4. Which we'll do. We're going to discard a Blessing of Ascension to get another die to the check, so it's going to be 2d12 plus 2d4 plus 1. And some not super rolls there, but we get a 16, so it's a total of 17 to defeat the Cultists of Baphomet, which we do. That gets banished to the box, and now we have a chance to close, summon, and acquire a random ally. We'll do that in a second. First, we're going to do the check to see if we can recharge the Viper Strike. Succeed on an Arcane or Divine 6 to recharge. So D12 plus 1. We get an 8, so we do recharge that spell. And now we will take a random ally from the box. And Caravan Guard. You can either bury an armor or Charisma Diplomacy 8. Well, she has a d8 for Charisma. Shardra is going to spend a blessing to give her 2d8. And Imrijka is going to spend a blessing to give her 3d8 to acquire this guy. $3d8, and we get a 21, so we more than acquire him. And he's actually a really good card, so that's not a bad acquisition. This gets closed, there's no effect. So we managed to close the location on our first turn. That's pretty great. She will reset her hand back up to 6, and play goes to Imrijka, who is here at the Watchtower. You may summon and defeat a random monster instead of the normal check to acquire a boon. She encounters a giant cockroach, combat 8. Before you act, another character at your location summons and encounters a giant cockroach. Well, that will be Shardra then, because she's the only other person here. If the check to defeat has the bludgeoning trait, add 1d8. Arcane or Divine skill plus 2d4, so that'll be a d10 plus 2d4 plus 3. Which is not too bad. So we get a 9 plus 3 is 12. So we defeat that. And she is going to see if this can be recharged. This is Arcane Divine 6. So D10 plus 3. And she does recharge, but that doesn't leave her with any offensive spells on her turn. But that's okay. Back to Imrijka, who now encounters a giant cockroach. Does she have the bludgeoning trait? Yes, she has a mace. For your combat check, reveal this card to use your strength or melee skill plus 1d8. And then another d8 for that. So that'll actually be a d10 plus 2d8. d10 and 2d8. We get 3s on all of them, but that still comes up as a 9, which is more than an 8, and we defeat the giant cockroach. We could explore again with a blessing, but we've already closed the location, so we're not going to do that. We're just going to reset and go over to Shardra. Now, there are 2 monsters in this deck, and we've just encountered one. She doesn't really have anything offensive, though. 2 weapons, 2 armors, and 2 allies. None of which she's going to be very well suited to acquiring anyway. Blessing of Sarenrae, non-combat con. Well, let's try it. Alright, it's a sickle. Strength melee 5. Well, she actually has a d6. She could acquire this. She gets a 5, so she does acquire the sickle. I think she's going to call that good, though. Send play over to Enora, who now needs to move somewhere. And I guess she will move to the marketplace. When you attempt to acquire a boon, add 1 plus the scenario's adventure deck number to checks to acquire it. The recruit. Charisma Diplomacy 3, so that's going to be a d8 plus 1 for us. We get a 4, so we do acquire him. We will immediately discard him to explore again. And it is a Silver Raven figurine. Check to acquire Intelligence Arcane Craft 7. Recharge this card to give 1 weapon, armor, or item to another character. Recharge this card to allow another character to give you 1 armor, weapon, or item. You are allowed to play this card when a character encounters a card. We actually do have craft. It's a d12 plus 1 for us, which is the same as the arcane. So d12 plus 1. Not sure. I'm not sure that we really want this. So I don't know if it's worth spending a blessing on. I'm just going to go with the d12 plus 1, because I'm not sure that this card's really worth getting. And we get a 5, which is only 6, so we do not acquire. Oh, wait a second. No, we would have acquired that, because we get a 5, plus 1 is 6, plus 1 from the marketplace is 7. So we did acquire this. She'll discard the caravan guard to explore this location. And it is scale mail, Constitution Fortitude 4. So that's going to be a d4 plus 1. She gets a 2, so we don't acquire that one. See, she's sitting at 6 cards right now, so we're not going to explore again. Play goes to Imrijka, who is here at the Watchtower, and it's Belthus Loomis, Craft 6 or Charisma Diplomacy 9. Well, she's probably not going to be able to do that, since that's a d6 for her, unless we wanted to spend a blessing, but we could use this effect. You may summon and defeat a random monster instead of a normal check to acquire a boon. So let's do that. Random monster is, giant cockroach. Maybe not the best choice. Before you act, another character at your location summons and encounters a giant cockroach. Well, it has to be Shardra. She at least has a weapon, though. Even though she's not proficient with weapons, she has a weapon. For your combat check, reveal this card to use your strength or melee skill plus 1d6. You may additionally discard this card to add another d6. So she'll do that. So it's going to be 3d6 to get an 8. And she gets 14, so she does defeat that. Imrijka is going to use the mace, so she's going to be a d10 plus 2d8 because of the d8 that you get for having the bludgeoning trait. So d10 plus 2d8 to get an 8. Not great roll, she just makes it, but she does defeat the giant cockroach, and now she acquires Belthus Loomis. Reveal this card to draw an armor, an item, and a weapon from the box. Banish 2 and set aside 1. Then banish this card to add the card you set aside to your hand, or bury this card and banish that card. It's very interesting. We're going to acquire that, and we're going to use it immediately. Reveal this card to draw an armor, an item, and a weapon from the box. And stalking armor. Reveal this card to reduce combat damage dealt to you by 2. Reveal this card to add 2 to your stealth or perception check. Banish this card to reduce all damage to you to 0. If proficient in light arms, bury it instead. And she is proficient in light arms. Hand crossbow. Dexterity range skill plus 1d6. And potion of striding. Well, they're all basic cards. We could have started with any of them. So I think we're going to banish them all, which is essentially what this says. And then we'll bury this because that would be the requirement there. So, not too much real progress, but that's okay. We do have the Researcher. We're going to discard this card to explore your location. Corroded Helm. Constitution Fortitude 3. That is a D6 for us. Only get a 1, so no Corroded Helm. Now she'll reset. Play goes to Shardra, and she encounters Magic Shield. Constitution Fortitude 6. That's a D10 plus 2 for her. She gets a 6 plus 2, so we do acquire that. She is going to use the Athlete to explore again. And she encounters Vulture, Wisdom Survival 5. Well, we don't have Survival, but we do have a Wisdom of D10. Okay, D10 to get a 5. We get a 10, so we do acquire the Vulture. I think she is going to end her turn there. She's already at 5 cards. Play goes back to Enora, who encounters a Blackwing Librarian. Check to acquire Intelligence, Knowledge 6, or Diplomacy 8. Recharge this card to succeed at your check against a boon that has the Arcane trait. Alright, that's a D12 for us. Discard this card to add 1d6 to any knowledge check by a character at your location. So we're going to do that. We'll check the recharge thing in a second. So now it's going to be a D12. Oh, we don't even need to do that because it is a knowledge check. So it's a D12 plus 3 to get the 6. So I'm fine with that. We get a 10. We do acquire this guy. So I'm going to discard him to explore again. Blood Periapt. Constitution Fortitude 4. That's a D4 for us. We get a 1, so we don't acquire that. Do we have a way to explore again? Well, we do, but I'm going to hold on to the blessing. Back to Imrijka. And she encounters Cultists of Baphomet. The difficulty of the checks to increase go up by the Scenarios Adventure deck, which is B, so there's one. Before you act, if this is your first exploration each of the turn, the Cultists of Baphomet deals 1 combat damage to you. Well, she's definitely going to be doing that. So we're going to take that on the Caltrop bead, I think. Alright, just a combat 10. She's got the Mace, Strength of Melee plus 1d8, so that's a d10 plus a d8, and then we're going to spend this to make it 2d10 plus a d8. Oh boy, those small numbers, but we get an 11. We do beat the Cultists of Baphomet. Now we have an attempt to close the location, which requires us to banish a weapon, so we're going to banish the short bow. And on closing, draw a random weapon from the box. And we get Bolus. And Shardra's turn. She now needs to go somewhere else. So she's going to move over with Enora. She explores and encounters Lightning Touch. Intelligence Arcane 4. Well, it's a D6 for her. And she gets a 4, so she does acquire that. She will use the Vulture to explore again. Now that she's got a spell. And it's a Wand of Paralyze. Intelligence, Arcane, Wisdom, Divine, 10. Now she has a D10 plus 3 for Wisdom. Do we want this? Bury this card to evade a non-villain monster you encounter. Put it on the top or the bottom of its location tag. Well, it's not a bad thing for her, honestly. So she has a D10 plus 3 right now. Imrijka's going to give her a blessing to see if she can get it. So 2d10 plus 3. Seven plus 3 is a 10, so she does acquire the Wand of Paralyze. But now she does not have a way to explore again, so she needs to discard something. I guess we'll discard Lightning Touch. Play goes to Enora. She gets a Blessing of Shaylin. Non-combat Wisdom check. It is a hand crossbow. Dexterity range 5. Well, it's a d6 for her. We're not that interested in it, so it doesn't matter. Could explore again with that blessing. Concerned about her deck size, though. We've already got 2 locations closed, and we're a third of the way through the deck, and we're zeroing in on closing this location. So, no, she is just going to end her turn there. And it goes to Imrijka, who gets a Blessing of Abadar, 2 dice to check to defeat a barrier. And Imrijka is going to move here. to the armory, where she encounters a glaive +1, strength melee 11. For a combat check, reveal this card to use your strength or melee skill plus 1d10 plus 1. If not proficient with weapons, yeah, she is proficient with weapons. This would be a really good weapon for her. There's one blessing on the table, so Enora is going to play that blessing. So now she's rolling a 2d10 to get an 11. Alright, 2d10 to get an 11. And we get a 12, so we do acquire that. That is a nice pickup. And we get to draw a card because we just acquired a weapon. Now we have 4 weapons in hand and no way to explore. So that'll be the end of her turn. And now 5 weapons in hand. Over to Shardra, who is here at the marketplace. And she encounters a sword breaker, strength melee 9. For your combat check, reveal this card to use your strength of melee plus 1d4 minus 1. You may additionally discard this to add 1d4 minus 1. It doesn't seem like a great weapon, really. Although, discard this card to evade a monster you encounter whose highest difficulty to defeat is less than 11 plus twice the adventure deck number. So that actually is kind of a cool feature, but she can't make it anyway. There's no blessings on the table, and she only has a d6 for strength. That goes away. She does not have a way to explore, but she is going to do Cure on Enora. So, reveal this card and choose a character at your location. Shuffle 1d4 plus 1 random cards. So, 1d4. So, that's 4 random cards from Enora's deck back into her discard pile back into her deck. And succeed at a Divine 8 to recharge it, which is a d10 plus 3. We get a 10, so we do recharge Cure. She will reset her hand, and she gets Fireblade. Back to Enora. There's only 1 card left here, so it has to be the henchman, right? Or the villain, actually, but yeah, it turns out it's the henchman. Kjesterdaemon. Check to defeat Combat 12. Kjesterdaemon is immune to Acid, Mental, and Poison. If evaded, shuffle this monster into a random open location deck. Before you act, Kjesterdaemon deals 1 fire damage to you. Well, okay. We'll take it on the Silver Raven. He's immune to Acid, Mental, and Poison, but that doesn't help him with Lightning Touch. So this is the card we'll use. For your combat check, reveal this card, discard this card to use your arcane skill plus 2d4. We also have the Sage's Journal. Reveal this card to add 1d4 to your check to defeat a henchman or villain. So now it's 3d4. So that's going to be a d12 plus 3d4 plus 1 to get 12. And we get a 20, so we defeat him. And we may immediately attempt to close this location. Choose a type of boon other than loot. Summon and acquire a random boon of that type. Let's first do the check on Lightning Touch. We need an Arcane 6. So d12 plus 1. And we get a 3, so we don't recharge that. Well, it seems like Spell would be the one to go for, although some percentage of them are divine spells, not arcane spells. Fiery Glare. Intelligence, Arcane, Wisdom, Divine 8. It's a d12 plus 1 to get an 8. We get a 6, plus 1 is 7, so we do not acquire that, and we do not close the location. She'll reset her hand. Play goes to Imrijka. Now, there are no monsters at the armory, so there's no point in her going there. She's going to move over to the Forsaken Cloister. When you move or are moved here, bury a card. Okay, so we have to bury something. We will bury this bolus, because we don't care about that anyway. And explore, and it is full plate. Constitution Fortitude 5. D6 for her. And we do acquire it. Unfortunately, has no way to explore again, so that is going to be the end of her turn. Going to go to Shardra, who now has a chance to close the marketplace. Choose a type of boon other than loot, summon, and acquire. So she's going to do the same thing, go for a spell, and hope it's a wisdom spell and not an arcane. Detect Demon. In fact, it is a wisdom spell. She can't actually fail at this. Wisdom Divine 4, so she has a d10 plus 3. So she automatically acquires this, and that immediately closes the location. At the end of your turn, you may give a card to any character. Discard this armor. That ends Shardra's turn. Discard this card to add 2 days to any check attempted during the first exploration of your turn. Well, it's Enora. She needs to go somewhere. So yeah, I think she's going to go over here with an Imrijka. But that means that she has to bear a card. When you move here or are moved, bear a card. I guess we'll do this one. Blessing of Sarenrae. Constitution 4 or Divine 5. Well, she has a D4 for Constitution. And she gets it. Blessing of Sarenrae. That's probably going to be a good one for Shardra. Well, 2 dice to any non-combat con check. I don't know. Maybe it's not good. She can explore again by using the Researcher to explore, so I guess we'll do that. Abyssal Traveler's Kit. Intelligence Knowledge 7. Okay, so now this actually is a knowledge check. That's the D12 plus 3. Recharge this card to add 1d4 to any check by a character at a location that has the Abyssal trait. D12 plus 3. Two, that's 5. So it's not enough. We will discard the Blessing of Sarenrae to explore again. Oh. And it's Safini. Check to defeat Combat 12 or Arcane 9. Well, the Arcane 9 is probably the one to go for. Before you act, summon and encounter a random monster from the box, or the summoned monster is not defeated. Safini is not defeated. It's Cambion. Combat 12. He's immune to electricity and poison. Before you act, succeed at Arcane or Divine 9, or you may not play spells that have the attack trait. Okay, that's bad. Well, it's a D12 plus 1. We get a 6, plus 1 is a 7, but we needed a 9. So you may not play spells that have the attack trait, which of course is the only offensive spell I have, and is a 12. So that's just a D6 for her. There are no blessings on the table. So obviously a D6 does not beat a 12. Let's roll the D6, I guess. It's a 1, so that's brilliant. She would take 11 points of damage. So yeah, she loses her whole hand. Probably shouldn't have explored again there. So he is undefeated. Well, she'd still have to make the check even though she's not going to beat her. She's going to be undefeated, but it's an Arcane 9, so D12 plus 1. Of course, 4, but she can't take any more damage because she's already out of cards. If undefeated, shuffle the top card of the Blessings deck into your location deck. Shuffle that in here. She's now going to escape. So that's another card from the Blessings deck because we have 2 open locations and this one can't be closed at the moment. And now Enora must reset. And play goes to Imrijka, who will explore. She finds Cure, Wisdom Divine 6. So that's a D8 plus 1 for her. And she gets a 1, because why not? Doesn't have a way to explore again, so over to Shardra, who's here by herself at the marketplace. The thing about that is, really Imrijka should go to the armory. Shardra's going to move over to the armory. She encounters a wooden shield, Constitution Fortitude 4. That is a D10 plus 2 for her, so she almost cannot fail. Well, that was the one die she could have rolled to fail, and that's the one she rolled. Another 1. Let's keep track of how many 1s I roll every scenario. Actually, it's probably too depressing to do that. During your turn, discard this card to examine the top card of your location deck. If the card is a Bane that has the Damien trait, you may encounter it. Otherwise, return it to the top of the deck. Top card is a Corrosive Dagger plus 1. Definitely not a demon. She can recharge. After playing this card, if you do not have the Divine skill, yes, we need a Divine 6 to recharge. It's a D10 plus 3 for us. We get a 6, so we do recharge. We'll reset her hand size up to 5. Play goes over to Enora. And Frigid Blast. Intelligence Arcane 4. D12 plus 1 for us. Gets a 7 to acquire that. She has a bunch of blessings now, so she will spend a blessing to explore again. It's Chuffy Lickwound, who is the promo card for this set. Or for the character add-on deck, anyway. Check to acquire Dexterity Acrobatics 8 or Charisma Diplomacy 7. Well, she's got a better chance at the Charisma. Reveal this card and discard any number of cards from the top of your deck. For each card discarded, add 1d6 to your check to defeat a barrier. Discard this card to explore your location. If you are the only character at your location, add 1d6 plus the scenario's adventure deck number to your combat checks during this exploration. Well, that's pretty cool. I think we're going to spend a blessing to see if we can get him. So I spend a blessing. That is now 2d8. And somehow we still don't get it, right? Nope. Oh, no, we did. We get a 7, and we need a 7. Okay, thankfully, we get good old Chuffy Liquid. We'll discard this guy to explore again. Temptation of Lucre. Check to defeat none. Draw 3 items from the box. If the scenario's adventure deck number is 3 or higher, draw 3 non-basic items from the box instead. You may choose one and add it to your hand. Banish any not chosen. If you have added one to your hand, the barrier is undefeated. Each character discards a card from their deck. Discard the barrier, otherwise the barrier is defeated. After you banish this barrier. So basically, if you don't get something really good, you would just let them go. But maybe we will get something good, so let's see here. We get a Demon Hunter's Handbook. Recharge this card to add 1d4 plus the Bane's adventure deck number to your check against a Bane that has the cultist or demon trait. After playing this card, you may succeed in intelligence or knowledge check with a difficulty of 5 plus twice the Bane's adventure deck number to recharge it. Blood Periapt. Discard this card to reduce combat damage, just damage dealt to you by 3. And Holy Phylactery. During an encounter, bury this card to ignore the corrupted trait on a boon until the end of that encounter. But is it worth it to cause everyone else to discard a card? No, because she's really pretty bad off on cards right now. So we're not going to do that. Alright, she will reset. Play goes to Imrijka. Gets a Blessing of Baphomet. Discard this card to add 2 dice to any checked. Yeah, that would be nice. I don't know why I keep reading these, because actually there's no Blessing of the Gods in here, so unless you actually have that in your deck, it's not going to help you. Cambion. Combat 12. He's immune to electricity and poison. Before you succeed in Arcane Divine, you cannot use spells with the attack trait. Well, in this case, we don't care, because we don't have spells. So he's a combat 12. And we are going to javelin him in the face. For your combat check, bury this card to use your dexterity or range skill plus 2d6. So, d10 plus 2d6 plus 1. Really? We get an 8 plus 1 is 9, which means 3 points of damage. Recharge this card to reduce combat damage dealt to you by 4. He goes back into the pile. And we go to Shardra, who explores and finds a corrosive dagger, dexterity range 7, which she cannot acquire, so that goes away. She could explore, and I suppose she should. And it's a longsword. Strength melee 6. That's a d6 for her. She might acquire it. She gets a 1 though, so nope. She doesn't have a way to explore again, so she resets. Play goes to Enora. And now she encounters the Cambion. Arcane or Divine 9. Well, she has a Blessing. She's going to have to spend that, because she wouldn't be able to use a spell if she doesn't. She's going to spend this. This is going to make it 2d12 plus 1 to get a 9. And she just makes it. She just makes the 9. So now he is 12. So she's going to use Frigid Blast. For your combat check, discard this card to use your Arcane Divine skill plus 2d4. Okay, well, we just barely get a 12. So he's defeated. After playing this card, if you do not have either... Yeah. Arcane 6. Okay. d12 plus 1. Okay, 9, so we do recharge that. She is going to reset her hand up to 6 cards. Imrijka's turn now. Blessing of Ascension. Charisma 6 or Divine 5. D8 plus 1 for Divine for her. So she does acquire the Blessing of Ascension, which would allow her to explore again. There's only 2 cards here. It's another Blessing of Ascension. Okay, so I think that means that we know the villain ended up over here. I'm pretty sure that must mean that. Okay, another d8 plus 1. This time we get a 4, we need a 5, and we do get it. She'll discard that to explore again. Oh, well, I guess I was wrong about that. Okay, the villain is here. Before you act, summon and encounter a random monster from the box. It's a worm demon. Combat 10. He is immune to electricity and poison. If undefeated, bury an ally from your hand or your discard pile. Glaive +1 probably is the thing to go for, right? That would be your combat check. Reveal this card to use your strength and melee skill +1 d10 +1. 2d10 +1 to get a 10. Get a 9, get a 1. +1 is 11, so we do defeat the worm demon. Now we would encounter her, but first let's see if Shardra can close this location, or temporarily. Summon and acquire a random weapon. And it's a crossbow. Dexterity ranged 5. Recharge this card to add 1d8 plus the scenario's adventure deck number to a check by a character at your location to defeat a barrier or close a location. Well, we're trying to close the location, right? And to do that, we're summon and acquiring a random weapon. I don't know. This is one of those hazy cases where it's not clear if that's really what it means. Like if it was a straight number check on the location, obviously that would affect it. To a check by a character at your location to defeat a barrier or close a location. This is the check to close the location. I'm just going to spend the blessing because I don't know. Please comment in the video if I should have used Colo. I don't know. So now she's going to be rolling 2d4 to get a 5. And she gets an 8. So she does acquire that. And this location is temporarily closed. So the villain has nowhere to go if Imrijka defeats her. And now Imrijka will have to attempt a combat 12. Which she's going to use the glaive +1 again. So 2d10 +1. There are no blessings to give. And we get a 7 +1 is 8. But, okay, actually, if you fail this check, you may discard this card to re-roll the dice. Take the new result. Okay, we still have a chance. 2d10 +1. Oh, and we got worse. Now we got the same. Well, we get an 8, which means we take all this as damage, and I think that means she doesn't have any weapons anymore. And this escapes, but there's nowhere to go, so she's still just here. That's the end of Imrijka's turn. She resets to 5. She does get a sickle. And it goes to Shardra. She's going to move over here. She's not going to do anything, but she's going to move over here. Then she's going to discard a couple cards so that she can reset her hand. And hopefully get something helpful. Isn't really, but that's alright. Goes to Enora, who is going to move here. She might as well encounter Blessing of Shacks. Combat 9 or Divine 5. Well, she can't get that. I mean, not without someone spending a blessing. She could explore again. Probably wouldn't be wise to do so, though. It's already pretty dangerous for her to even be here. Although there's no monsters, there's at least one henchman. Goes back to Imrijka, who is now going to have to deal with 2 monsters. Stephan, before you act, summon and encounter a random monster from the box. And it is a mongrel ranger. Combat, see below. The difficulty to defeat is equal to the highest difficulty to defeat a random monster from the box. So I guess we take another monster from the box. And it's a mongrel wizard, which is the same thing, so... Oh, great. A carrion golem. He's a combat 14, so he's a combat 14 now. Before you act, he deals 1d4 - 1 ranged combat damage to you. Well, that's 1 combat damage to me. 1 ranged combat. Recharge this card to reduce cold or combat damage. I'm not sure if ranged combat is separate somehow. I mean, it's still combat, right? So I'm going to recharge that to get rid of that. Now he's a 14. So we only have the sickle. For your combat check, reveal this card to use your strength and melee +1d6. So that would be a d10 plus a d6. She does have a blessing, so she's going to spend a blessing. Gotta be careful here, though. Spend a blessing. So now it's 2d10 plus a d6 to get a 14. 2d10. Yeah, no, we made it. So it was 15, so he's defeated. Now goes back to Safini. So same thing here with the sickle, and she's got another blessing. Well, hold on. First, we need to see if Enora closes this location. So summon and acquire a random weapon. Battle Aspergillum. It is a strength and melee 6. Well, she does have a d6. Does she have anything that can help her with this check? Probably not. Discard this card to add 1 die to your check to acquire a boon. So now it's 2d6 to get a 6. And we just barely get a 6. Okay. And we've also acquired the Battle Aspergillum, which I think is going to be pretty awesome for Imrijka. Now, if we can make a Knowledge 10, then we can recharge this, which is going to be a d12 plus 3. We get 11 plus 3, so we do recharge it. So this location is temporarily closed. Now we're back to Imrijka fighting Safini at combat 12. We're going to use our other blessing, and it's going to be a 2d10 plus a d6. And we get a 13, which is enough to defeat a 12, which means Enora, Imrijka, and Shardra are successful. They beat Safini. Very well done. That was tough. When you acquire... Oh, I forgot about this, of course. When you acquire an ally, you may succeed in intelligence or knowledge 6 check to examine the top card of any location deck. That would have been useful, had I remembered to do that. Reward. Each character draws a random blessing that has the corrupted trait from the box. Okay, Blessing of Baphomet for Enora. That is a corrupted trait. Blessing of Baphomet for Imrijka. That has a corrupted trait, and that does not. Okay. That's the same. I think this does. Blessing of Abraxas. That has a corrupted trait. So they've each got a corrupted blessing now. It's not necessarily a bad thing, though, because it's only when it matches the blessing that's up here. So they're mostly pretty good. Discard this card to add 2 dice to any check attempted during your first exploration. So that's just like anything. That's actually, I think that's quite good. And then Abraxas is discard this card to add 2 dice to any arcane or divine check. So yeah, that's pretty good for Shardra. A little shaky, but not too bad for the first playthrough. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please like the video and subscribe to my channel so that you'll know when I'm producing other videos. We're putting Skull and Shackles on hold for a little bit. I may try to sneak one in here and there, but I've got just a lot of stuff going on. We're trying to buy a house and sell a house, and just work in general is busy. So right now we're just going to be doing Wrath of the Righteous. Still once a week, still on Sundays. Please let me know what you think of this first playthrough. Do you think these guys have a chance? I'm not sure. It's going to be interesting. Well, thanks for watching, and I will talk to you next time.